welcome to the Best of Mazatlan Show. My name is Mark Glickman, and I'm your host and publisher of bestofmazatlan.com, the leading digital lifestyle brand of Mazatlan, Mexico. I'm going to use this show to feature entrepreneurs, local leaders and businesses, nonprofits, and other positive stories that showcase the best of Mazatlan, Mexico. Go to bestofmazatlan.com to stay current and connected to the best places to eat, drink, live, and play in Mazatlan, Mexico, aka the Pearl of the Pacific, aka the colonial city on the beach. It's great to be with everyone today. I'm excited to be joined on the Best of Mazatlan show by my guest and good friend, Alfredo Gomez Rubio, owner of Pedro Lola's bar and restaurant, but even more significantly, it was Alfredo's vision for Centro and Plaza Machado that helped to revive the historic area from its derelict conditions in the 1990s to the vibrant historic area and attraction it has become in Mazatlan. Welcome to the Best of Mazatlan show, Alfredo. Thanks so much for joining me.
Hey, thanks, Mark. It's good to see you here. Good afternoon, everybody. Here we are. Mazatlan's getting warm now.
Here we are. For those that are watching, please leave a comment and please like or share the show wherever you're watching this from. Alfredo, I'd like to start off the show by having you tell you a little bit about yourself. Who is Alfredo the person? And talk to us about your rich family history and roots in Mazatlan.
Well, our family has been here for 5 generations of my father's mother's house, and for 5 generations in my mother's father and mother. So my house holds the 5th generation. My sons are the 5th generation living in the same house. That tells you a little that I didn't feel a great move to get away from here. When the neighborhood got down here, and being so rich in history, some people that did it before we kind of took the torch. They passed away, like Toño Haas. And Mazatlan, we knew the revival of Mazatlan had to do with Centro, because Centro has a great history. It's pretty much linked to the American history of the 1840s, 1850s, 1860s. So we were like on your route from the east to the west. And Mazatlan, what we have now, is totally a product of the great migration of the 49ers from New York to San Francisco back then 2 centuries ago. And what we get, the heritage that we see that it's relived again, it's been pretty much potentialized by the new governor. And we have a new town. Just to tell you a little hint, we got 74 restaurant bars right in an area that there was nothing. We were crazy to having it started in the late 80s. 89 we started open our first place here, and then it came on and on and on, and now it's the whole thing in many ways is happening here. The action is here.
Yeah, talk to us about the history and renaissance of Centro, because it was your vision and hard work that revived this historic area that had become derelict to the vibrant hub of energy, music, art, theater, and so much more that has become. There's really nowhere else like it in Mexico. It must be incredibly gratifying for you to see your vision fulfilled.
It is gratifying. You know what? You just said it. Definitely we were the most important harbor or port of the Mexican Riviera in the 19th century. So that gave us all this globalization, people coming in and out, all these Europeans that had come to the United States, moving to the West. And those people stayed here in many ways because the trip was 4 to 6 months. I don't know if you're aware, but the biggest migration, voluntary migration there has been in history is the east to the west of the United States from the gold rush, okay? That created California. California, at the time, San Francisco had 80% males, 20% women. Imagine how it would have been. That all in all, California leveled the balance of woman-man balance until 1950. See what happened to California because of these movements, and we were part of that move, okay? And being part of that move gave us what we are. We are not, even though we call it a colonial city on the beach, we are the port that has a history, the beach town that has a history that we can offer. And that gives us now that it's been utilized, hotels are coming, we got a great authorities understanding it, really understanding it finally. And all this is putting up the whole city in another step so we can see what's going next, okay? We feel that.
Yeah, no, it's great to see. Take us how your vision for the area came about and how you saw it through to today. Because I remember you telling me how you would attend conferences with other historic area revivalists from other countries to learn what they were doing to resurrect their historic areas. What were some of the lessons that you learned that helped you for developing your vision for Centro and Plaza Machado?
Before my grandfather arrived here and put a pharmacy here, I mean, the one that came latest, it was in 1890, right in front of my restaurant. It put a pharmacy. He was a boticario, and we're here because of the phonetics of the city. His father asked him, "Where are you going?" And he said, "I'm going to Mazatlan." What's that? I like the phonetic of this Mazatlan word, so that's why we're here, for phonetics. Okay, that's one thing. But what we see, when the theater, which was opened in 1875, and then it was a whole part of the cultural and historical art scene of Mazatlan, then it came down like in the 50s, 60s, it totally became a ruin. The renaissance of and remodelation of the theater, Angela Peralta, which is the opera house, once they did it, we knew we had the main store of the mall, if you want to call it that way, the anchor store, and that made us know there would be a big movement, a nice bird school, a big school, art school. They got over 1,000 students now. It's the conservatories of different types of musical art, like violin, like chorus, like there's professional dancing. So all this that was coming didn't come from one day to the other. It's been here like starting more than 30 years ago. When it came, all the movement that created it, it was mostly based in arts and culture more than in other types of wanting to be other things, So we took advantage of that vision of that, and we started making the places considering this would be the answer. It wouldn't be a totally marketing thing without any sense, okay, you understand? And that's the way I feel it when we got started. Obviously, we had to be a little crazy to get started. We were in our 30s and we opened up the first bar. We kind of drank it, my friends and I, but it became Café Pacifico, which is still there. It's not ours, but we had a lot of fun with it. We were young.
So, Alfredo, what made you decide to get in the restaurant business? How old were you when you decided to get started?
I love that one because I was so broken, Every time I get up at 5 in the morning and sit down in the corner of Pedro Lola and sitting in my place and seeing it, and I started writing names for my future restaurant, and names that I would call it. So after writing many lines of names, maybe 200 names, I started closing the windows of my place because there was a restriction on remodeling. So I did it totally illegal, the remodeling. I closed the windows and I started working on it. And that's the way it came out. 18 months after, I told my partners of Café Pacifico, that I would show them my new place, and we would always go there and have a drink, in the next corner. And then I showed them. We got into the kitchen, and when they came in, they said, "When did you do this?" I said, "I've been doing it for 18 months, and I'm ready to open it anytime. Why didn't you invite us? Because you're only drinking, So I kept the place to myself only, and we kept with that place with my partners. That was a bar, And this was my restaurant. So the name came from Pedro Infante and Lola Beltran, which is, Pedro Infante is one of the popular icons of the 19th century of Mexico. He passed away in a plane accident in 1957, but he was born accidentally 4 blocks away from here. And there's no more than Pedro Infante in Mexico, you know. He's really the man. And the other one is Lola Beltran, which is a great singer from Rosario. Rosario is like 35, 40 minutes south of Mazatlan, but she was mostly raised here in her teens before she became the most famous Mexican singer we have had for popular music. So I love the phonetics, starting with phonetics again, like Mazatlan, we're here. And I didn't put Lola and Pedro. I said Pedro and Lola, it's a pretty good phonetical name that can get stuck in your brain, you know. So there goes Pedro Lola 22 years after, you know.
Fantastic. And, you know, one of the things that I love about your restaurant is that your waiters and staff have been there like from the beginning. It's always so great to, when I go back there, to see such familiar faces. It always feels like family. You know, that speaks volumes about you. How do you do it?
I always tell him, joking, I said, if you guys are here, I mean, the youngest one maybe has been here 10 years. If you're here, it's either that I'm pretty stupid and I don't see whatever you do, or the other thing is that I'm cool and we got a pretty good team and we got a pretty good atmosphere. And I think it is the second one, okay? Our atmosphere here at the corner has been developing. We have been the most consistent place the last 22 years in having certain type of live music, even though in the worst times we always kept up. So that created in many ways a space for musicians that now some of them come from Canada, some from Europe, some from the States, and they join the Mexicans, and there's a groove. Mazatlan is one of the grooves, the best musical groove or musical scene in anywhere around the Pacific, you know, because it has been created through the attraction that the city and the neighborhood did on certain expats that came here because it was a good place to live, you know, pretty high valued city. And it is still bringing a lot of people from North America, especially Canada and the States, to live permanently here or just as winter birds, like from November to April. But we have a great musical scene that has been fed from all this movement from the school that creates musicians and from the people that hire them, which are not, it was only me maybe at the beginning, but now there's more than 25 places that do live music in Mazatlan in a particular, in any weekend, okay?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And you know, the music scene has really evolved, you know, and I know pianist Rob LaMonica calls your corner where Pedro and Lola is the happiest place on the planet, you know, and I want to have Rob on one of these.
I like it. You know.
Yeah, I love that. I love that line.
You know how I call him now? He's been a good promoter. I tell him, Bill Graham, remember Bill Graham, the one that did all the concerts, Fillmore East, Fillmore West, and I told him, hey Rob, you're Bill Graham here, and he loves it. You know, he's in Canada promoting right now. I mean, in the summer, he's just great. You know?
Yeah, no,
he's being a great musician, a great promoter, which is not easy. You know.
Yeah, you know, and not only has Mazatlan become a real music scene, especially in Centro, but it's also become a real foodie destination. You know, and the Centro has become like the epicenter of, you know, new and exciting restaurants. Tell us how that's come about from when you were like the only game in town.
It has come because the city attracted more people here, and there were pretty good entrepreneurs who started risking their money, especially one Canadian guy, Neto Coppel from Pueblo Bonito. He did Casa 46. So they invested here, believing that Centro would be a pretty good place, and they brought this, let's say, author's food, the good chefs, to do all this new kitchen that comes from the old one, and they're rediscovering a lot of flavors. We do a lot of casual music, food here. My daughter, which is a chef, she gives us all this twist of urban street food with a little twist of gourmet. So there's a nice competence evolving, and there's one of the good things is there's prices for everybody. You know, I mean, there's high-end prices, which is pretty good, and there's many prices very accessible for a lot of people. And there's also smaller places which are like people that live here permanently. They can go out all the time, and they really get it. You know, it's a high-value city, which I say again, the food movement is evolving pretty well. It's pretty we're 74 restaurants now, and I know we'll be 100 in 5 years, for sure.
See, really exciting to see. You know, Mazatlan has been visited by some famous actors and actresses, writers, and other celebrities, such as John Wayne, Robert Mitchum, Ernest Hemingway. And I know you've met some famous folks yourself. Share some stories with us about that in Mazatlan.
One of the things we had before we started the Historical District Association, and let me tell you one thing, the techniques that we use, or the method we use, I picked it up in Washington, D.C. with your city managers there. I took a basic training course back in 2001, which was the Main Street program in the United States. They did a lot of reviving of towns, especially commercial districts that were deprived, they were down. So how did they put them back to life? And that was in the middle of the 70s, last century. And that, you don't know how many people, how many neighborhoods they've helped all around the United States to put these neighborhoods to live again in a different way that they were in the 19th century. So much of this is how do we evolve with a good method. We had a council that was very much widespread in minds in different ages, and they all cooperated. That was the basic thing that made it happen. And then before that, we had the Mazatlan Historical Society. And that what we did there, we unveiled many plaques around. Like all the Beat generation was here. They on their way to Mexico, and they're running away from the law in the United States. They used to come here to pick up opium or whatever, and they would go to Mexico City because they would like the underworld of Mexico City, of Roma, the colony Roma. Maybe you saw the movie. That colony in the 50s, 60s, it was interesting, and all the Beats, Allen Ginsberg, Jack Kerouac, Ferlinghetti, Casey, and all these guys, William Burroughs, they would go there, but they all passed through here. So they got their plaques, all of them. We unveiled their plaques, the Historical Society. Herman Melville was here. That's 1844 with the American Navy. D.H. Lawrence was here. I mean, he stayed at a hotel 2 blocks away from here. We got his writings made here. Melville, we're inviting Bob Dylan now. He was here in 1973. I hope he comes. I know he won't come, him, he's great. But if he wants to come in his speech when he finally went to pick up his Nobel Prize in Oslo, he spoke about his influences, and he spoke about Kerouac as influence, Melville, and D.H. Lawrence. They were all here, They were his literate influences, He didn't even know why did he have the Nobel Prize in Literature. He was a writer of songs, but his influence came from writers. So when he said that, when I invite him, when I make that letter, I'm going to tell him those guys were here. And you're speaking about they had a lot of influence on you. I don't know, he's pretty bizarre, and he'll tell he won't even read the letter, but I'll try to get to him, invite him and unveil his plaque and have him here. Why not? He's alive.
It's worth a shot, Alfredo. It's worth a shot.
Why not?
Now Mazatlan's, of course, famous for having the third largest carnival, but there's so many other festivals that are happening in Mazatlan now that weren't happening before. So tell us about some of those. I mean, of course,
there's many, yeah. There's the state festival in the second part of October, and then in November, December is the Mazatlan Arts Festival, and then we have in January, and this is different products that came from American people that live here. So it's the Gordon Campbell's Camerata series. It's a product totally aimed to expats. It starts in the Sundays. It's for 8 straight Sundays since January to March, and it's a matinee at the Opera House at 12 noon. Now Mexican comes. We're all taking it easy, and the Americans fill up the place. They're really sold out. Almost all these 8 dates, 8 Sundays. Then we have a jazz festival. There's an organic market pretty much aimed at the American expat community, and we have the art walk. It's been here for 14 years. We have the Day of Music, and there's a dance festival too. So if you put it all together, there's pretty much of a movement that people can take advantage of, that you can feel that the city is not just a city, a setup like maybe Cabo, like Vallarta, like Cancun for tourists, you know. And this is a city that has been living, evolving, and it's got a lot of pride in its inhabitants, you know. And we live well. We have the locals. We live pretty well. So people, the tourists that come, they like to see people having a good time. You know, as you have heard in the Corrido de Mazatlan, it says even a poor one feels millionaire here. It's from Jose Alfredo Jimenez. I mean, you can see that people. There's not low classes here. You know, people have a pretty good time joining everywhere. You know. I mean, the public spaces, the beauty of the city, and the cultural spaces for everybody, the art scene, make it a nice city to be here, you know, and to visit. That's what we invite tonight, you know.
Yeah, no, fantastic, Alfredo. Okay, now I'm going to do a little speed interview to get some insider tips from a local leader like yourself. What's your favorite place to eat in Mazatlan, of course, besides Pedro and Lola's? So.
Okay, I've eaten here so much that usually I get out of here and I go to the taquerias, you know. But let me tell you, and that's a very good question, man. I got a lot of them, but I'm pretty much into good tacos. Okay. Well, let me tell you, I have a good taco stands, and La Carreta is a place I go more than any other place, but there's 4 or 5 different places where I can do the tacos. Taco is a really cultural thing here, and it's a mixture of great flavors. So maybe that would be my favorite food. You know, there's other seafood like cuchupetas, which is in Villa Union. I think to me he's the best for fresh at noon and cook, fresh and cook. You know, because you've been there maybe at cuchupetas, and you can't miss there, you know. Everything is great because it's about ingredients, as I was telling you. It's not about so much about recipes. It's about the freshness and the coolness of the ingredients, you know. The speeches that they get. I've been with Manuel, who's the owner of Cuchupetas. They call him Cuchupetas. And you can see the people that come to the side of the kitchen and they sell them. They say, I got this fish, I got this fish, I got this callos, I got this. And he buys it cash right there, you know. It's like people that come from the water and sell their stuff, you know. So it's so fresh. You know.
I was going to ask you what your favorite food was, but it sounds like it's tacos.
Well, not really. No, well, that's a cool one, yeah. And good fish, you know. What we have been seeing is people have been raising the quality, because Mazatlan is not about sophisticated food. It's about ingredients. You know, we got these oceans giving you great species of fish fillet, octopus.
Alfredo, what's your favorite beach in Mazatlan?
Well, Olas Altas, you know, I'm from this neighborhood. I used to be a beach bum at the north part where we used to hang out. Hotel Playa used to be the hot spot when I was in the 70s, you know, because you hang out. There were so many American people you met there, and all the friends used to go there. We used to surf and body surf. But now, even this morning, I went to Olas Altas for a while just to hit the beach and get inside the water just to feel it. You know. I do some swimming in the ocean too sometimes.
What's your favorite activity in Mazatlan?
Well, swimming, definitely. Yeah, that's what I do most, in kayaking, you know, swimming and kayaking. I got a boat. We don't use it so much, but swimming and kayaking, and then sitting down with my friends and having a drink is another nice sport. Like when you come and Paul, you know.
Alfredo, what's your favorite recent improvement in Mazatlan?
Definitely what our governor did for the Tianguis at Centro, all this change of the streets, the lighting, the new lights, and remodeling of Malecon. Malecon, it turned it over. The lighthouse is a nice project. The park, the city's sister cities park, is great. So I think there's so many things coming, but the basic nice things that must have done. We never expected so many good things in such a short time. It was like a kind of a compromise and a promise that our governor did to the president, so they would send us the tianguis, and he made it. Not everything was finished, but it was quite finished, so we could show it off. And we did it. Mazatlan is one thing before the tianguis and one thing after the tianguis. And now what we need to do is, that's our aim right now, our associations, is to sit down with the authorities and help them maintain them good. Because one thing is making and doing a project, the other thing is maintenance of public spaces. Okay.
Alfredo, you've been a really fantastic guest. Before we end the show together, I'm going to turn it over to you for you to say whatever you want.
There was a long time ago, and I'm always been staring at the market of retirees. Okay, actually, we did an assisted living home back in 1999, which was pretty high end. Pretty cutting edge for what it was happening. But we were studying all the transitional demographics, and we knew that the silent generations, now the boomers, would need spaces where to be. So part of the plan was to plan the city for retirement. Usually what happens in Mexican cities, the higher class people, richer people, as they get old, they want to go and buy a house in Arizona, Tucson, Phoenix, which is great, And I always said, we got to make a great place for us to retire. And this place is going to be good. That's my aim 30 years ago, since I started studying the movements of the market here. And I said, when I get old, I want to live in this neighborhood, and I want us to be cool, because I want to live it cool. I want music, drinks. If I get old, I'm getting old, but I'm going to get older, And I want a good movement, and I want to live in my house, and I want security. And it was totally a stupidity saying that 30 years ago, People would never think. And one of the trends that is coming, which is really nice to me, some like higher class youngers, like hipsters and entrepreneurs, they're coming back to live here. They finding it. Whatever happened, see Gaslamp, San Diego, nothing was happening there in the 70s and the 80s, and then it turned over. People wanted to move to downtown again. It happened in so many places. We knew it would happen here. But not only would happen for us to live well, it would happen for visitors to come and feel it, because there was a good feeling of living here, It wasn't a setup, as I said, This is not Cabo, This is not Cancun. They're great cities, but this is a city that the people are here, the locals are here. And I don't think there's any other place, maybe besides Veracruz, which is another thing for the beaches, that you can have such a great cross-cultural experience that you can have in Mazatlan, in any beach spot in Mazatlan. In the country. You can get the cross-cultural thing, which is very important. Many Americans that come here, they like to see what's Mexico like,
Alfredo, thanks so much for taking the time to appear on the Best of Mazatlan show and share some really interesting angles about your life and the cultural renaissance of Mazatlan.
Thanks for your time, man. Bye.
I'm going to sign off the Best of Mazatlan show with this. We all have choices in life. Choose love, not hate. Choose positive, not negative. And remember, glass is always half full. And let's just hope it's half full of tequila from Mazatlan. Adios.